Okay, we are live. All right, let's let the people in, Pete.
Let's let the people in. Yeah, come on.
Okay, we we got Dusty, all the regular crowd shuffling in. Peter Phillips, um, Paul Metcalf. Good to see you. Who's AL? It's all right. We'll call him Al later. Okay, is that everyone that we've got at the moment, Pete?
That's it.
All right. Welcome to Crash Talk number 44. My name's Ian Maverick. I'll be emceeing this event. Coming from Melbourne, Australia. It's Sunday morning here. It's probably Saturday night or afternoon or evening where you are. We've got 2 hours of talk about TRS-80s, and we've got a lot to cover today, including festivals and other interesting stuff. So I hope you can stick around for the whole lot. We're going to be looking at a magazine later. I've chosen this one, which not a lot of people know about. It's called Computer User. So it's got a Coco on the front, and some other academic stuff. You can find a copy on archive.org, or someone will be so kind as to put a link in the show notes to
That's
download.
volume two, issue two from February 84, correct?
That's the one. Yep, that's the one. For the show today, as usual, I will be going around everyone in the room. I ask that people have their phones set to silent. And if you could refrain from using bad language, I'm the only one allowed to use bad language because I'm from Australia. And we will kick off right now. So I'll just talk a little bit about myself. Eric and I 2 weeks ago went to VCF Southwest in Dallas. So we had a good time there representing the Tandy crowd. We talked to a lot of people and got the word out about Tandy Assembly. We did a lot of networking, didn't we, Eric?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. So good news is hopefully, because we had good long conversations with Jerry Heap, um, the Green Thumb and early Cocoa guy. We're pretty confident that we should be able to negotiate to get him to come to Tandy Assembly 2026. And I also caught up with Mark Siegel, who was an engineer slash buyer slash bit of everything at Tandy. And I think he was either the main engineer or the project leader for the Coco 3. So I had a good talk with him, and hopefully I'll be able to convince him to come to Tandy Assembly next year as well. So yeah, we had a pretty good time. How'd you find it, Eric?
It was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of people that we knew. Um, we had on the table beside us, we had Joel Hillard, who also gave an excellent. I think he did two live performances of his music, and Eddie was on the other side of Joel, and then we had Brendan and Morgan Donahue on the other side of us.
Yeah, yeah. So we had a good representation, and on the other end of the table there was a guy who had various systems there, but he had a Model 2 system there working with a F48 hard drive emulator. Unfortunately, his video board on his Model 2 only lasted the 1.5 out of the 3 days, but he we helped to try and diagnose it, but we think his video board in his Model 2 finally gave up the ghost. So I'm in contact with him to try and get him a replacement video board. But yeah, we had perfect weather, didn't we? And some nice dinners
Yeah, it
out.
wasn't as hot as it was the last couple of years.
Really? Okay. I thought it was hot as hell, but I was used to it.
I said not as hot as. I didn't say it wasn't hot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw Joe Sigler was there too. Did you guys get a chance to talk to him?
Yes.
yeah, Eric did. Yeah, I saw him there. I shook his hand and had a word with him. So, yeah, between those three gentlemen, we should be able to get at least one of them along to Tandy Assembly to talk about their time with the company. So I thought it was a really good event and had a lot of fun there. Just as I was getting over the jet lag, I boarded a plane and headed home, but that doesn't discourage me from doing it again next year. So I'm hoping we get more guys from around the US to come along next year. By all accounts, well, they've already set the date. They're pretty proactive at VCF Southwest. They've already set the date of March 29 to 31, 2026, and they're going to be booking a new place um, to be announced. That is closer to the airport to encourage more people to come to their show. So watch this space.
Yeah. Also
Um,
mentioned VCF East was booked the same weekend, so that did impact
Yeah, and yeah, by
attendance.
some that's right. Yeah, by some strange coincidence, the BCF organization put two shows on the one weekend, and I sent them a message that I didn't think that was a really great idea. But then again, um, the one that was in Southeast, I think, was more games and gamer oriented, whereas ours was clearly more of a you know traditional VCF event. And I was pleased to see because I like to buy stuff, lots and lots of tables with random crapola for sale. I stuffed as much of it as I could in my luggage and took it back with me. My people who watch the um, VCF Southwest website Facebook page in the thread about what was your greatest pickup for the show was a $20 Coco 3 for me, which is amazing in and of itself. It had a sticker on the top of it that said unknown issues, so I tentatively handed over my $20 and took it away with me. Gave it to Brendan, who was on the table next to me, Brendan Donaghy. I said, "You turn this thing on and tell me what's wrong with it." And by the time I'd gone and had a sandwich and come back, he said, "Yeah, it's fine, works fine. Just had to reseat the RAM chips, and it's good as new." So winning.
But yeah, also to note, Dr. Boise was there. He
Oh yeah,
gave a
boys.
talk,
Yeah,
and
Boise.
Maverick gave a talk. So, can't leave that out. And was on one of the game shows.
Yeah, I did my System 80 talk from 2021, I think it was. No sense in reinventing the wheel. So and I figured that few of the people at VCF would have been at Tandy Assembly. So the talk went down well, but I was feeling that it was a humid room, even though the air conditioning was on. I had to kind of try to um, not make it so obvious that I was finding a bit hot and sweaty in there. But the talk, I think, went down well. Boise's talk went was short and sweet. He definitely shows you how to do an entertaining but quick in and out talk. So it was good to catch up with him. I don't know if are we supposed to call him Doctor from now on? Are we, Eric? It seems to be.
Oh, I did just in case he tunes in.
Everywhere everywhere on the VCF homepage where he was previously Boise G. Petrie had got changed overnight at one point to Dr. Boise Gene Petrie. So I thought, okay, well, he's worked hard for it, so good on him.
I didn't see
And
the details. What is he a doctor of?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think software engineering.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
What
I've been
else?
a doctor of software and engineering for a decade, and nobody calls me doctor. But you'll have to go with what Boise wants, not me. I'm okay without it.
Okay, Dr. Tim.
Dr. Helen.
And
Oh, also mention that MC10 in the auction went for, what was it, $245?
What?
there was a brand new there was a brand new in box. They had an auction there, so all right. So yeah, we'll go off on some tangents. Yeah, so they had an auction there, but it was extremely slow. I got to say that, I don't know if the auctioneer is watching, but I'm a better auctioneer. I'm more rapid. In fact, the auction ran so over time that I think the university had to call the state troopers in and get everyone out of the building. Of course, Eric and I had gone by then, but yeah, everything in the auction went super high, but it was all going to a charity, the money. So maybe people felt that it was worthwhile and they were happy with their purchases. The MC10, as best we could tell, like all MC10s that are in the box, they've probably been used once or twice
Yeah.
and put back in the box. I couldn't confirm whether it was brand new and never been unpacked. It looked like it had never been unpacked, but really an MC10 is in the traditional Tandy styrofoam clam with a plastic bag around it. Yeah, it went for something like $250, which was, well, I didn't need another MC10, but I'm looking sort of sideways at the ones I've got here now. Thinking, do I need to keep that many of them?
Yeah, I
Uh,
did mention to Mav at that time, I said, this reminds me of the Model 2 disc expansion from 3 years ago
yeah,
that
yeah.
went for 800 and something.
I'm hoping someone's going to bring another one of those along this time as
I couldn't
well.
believe anyone bid on that. I was stunned.
I can't believe. Did you bring it along, Tim? Was that yours
I did.
or?
I was trying to get rid of it, and I was praying
Yeah,
I'd have to take it home.
yeah. Well, whoever's got it must love it at the moment.
I
Yeah. So
agree.
they had some game shows at the VCF, which I was asked to be involved in, but I felt I was underutilized because in a situation where I can improvise, I can really get the crowd giggling away. But anyway, I had fun, and I did say that to the organizers that if I come back next year, would you please give me a bit more of a prominent role in the game? You won't regret it. So so that's my report about VCF. If you haven't got Eric, got anything else to say about it, or just
No, it was neat, not just the, Tandy stuff, but there were a lot of other neat
yep.
things out there,
I didn't go to
including
last.
somebody had the complete weather channel set up.
Yes.
So
Yeah, there was lots of interesting stuff, that's for sure. Obviously, I didn't go to last year's one, so in comparison, which do you think was better, last year or this year?
I think, this year, especially in the, second building we were in, it was there were more people and it was a little better uh, running
Yeah, yeah,
on that.
okay.
The main
That's what.
building was about the same, but our side.
Yeah, yeah, it was very big, the second building. If and it looked like there were lots of people sort of taking the opportunity to travel between the two buildings, which is really only a 20-meter walk. It's not a huge walk, but that's one of the things that I think Jay was saying about the change for 2026 is to put it all in one big hall, not rather than two separate buildings. So. All right. So moving right along, Peter Satinsky, the Tandy Assembly report.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. One sec. All right. So you all see the Tandy Assembly webpage? Yes?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Tandy Assembly, where we're at. Let's start by talking about speakers. So we have a couple of speakers signed up. We got Joel Hilliard, who's going to be talking about the music he created using the Orchestra 80 and the MIDI 80, which is that new hardware product for creating MIDI music from your TRS-80. I believe he gave probably the same talk at VCF Southwest. And Jim Brain is going to be talking about the enhancing the Coco memory management unit beyond 512 kilobytes. We do have one more speaker slot available for Sunday morning. So if somebody out there has an idea or project they want to talk about, or some experience in the TRS-80 world that would be of interest to everyone, please get in touch and sign up as a speaker. For the Friday Tech Track, we've got all the classes filled. We've got Tim Halloran, who's on the call here. He's going to be talking about CPM on the TRS-80, an introduction. Tim, you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think I mentioned this last time if you were here, but I kind of volunteered for this to learn about it. So I've been digging into CPM. So far, I've gotten through the Model 1. Ian was nice enough to sell me a Mappa 1, which I've got installed in my main Model 1 and been playing around with it. It's pretty good. I was finding out there aren't as many CPMs on the Model 3, although one of them might be being demonstrated by at Tandy Assembly, a remapper for the Model 3. And of course, the Model 4 and Model 2 have a selection. So I'll kind of go through that and introduce kind of how to use the operating system, which is a little bit foreign. It reminds me of my experience growing up on the DEC mini computers like the PDP-11 and PDP-10 more than it does like DOS or something. So it is odd to the thing. So, but looking forward to it. Still not completely done with it, but it's getting together. So it'll be fun and hopefully informative for everyone who comes to Tandy Assembly or watched it online.
Awesome. And I think the person you were referring to with the CPM in the Model 3 is going to be Mike Lowen.
Correct. Yes, Mike Lowen.
The Holmes Engineering VID 80 board. Yeah. So he tried imaging that. I have the disc for it, and he tried imaging it, and he doesn't think he got a great copy. I have to get that disc to Ira pronto because Ira's the master of extracting really difficult 5 1/4 software. So I'm going to send it out to Ira, and hopefully that's going to be ready for Tandy Assembly.
Yeah. One thing I'll mention is George emulates the Mappa 1 pretty well on TRS-80 GP. In fact, George, it's so good that I was able to use the Mappa 1, map it to a real serial port, and run CPM on a terminal connected through the PC on TRS-80 GP. So good job.
I'm impressed, but you're voiding your warranty.
All right. So the next class is going to be Joel Hilliard. Joel's doing double duty, so he's going to also be teaching a tech track course, and this is going to be specifically on the MIDI 80 hardware project and the software and how to work with that. The third class is going to be taught by Marcel Ayers on rebuilding TRS-80 Model 1, a reverse engineering journey. If you've been following Marcel's progress over the past couple of years, he's done amazing work on re-engineering and basically redesigning, rebuilding TRS-80 Model 1 boards of various versions and iterations. And he's like one of the world-renowned experts now on the TRS-80 Model 1 architecture, right behind Steve Leininger, I think. The fourth course is going to be taught by Jeff Burt, and he's teaching a course on building modern accessories for vintage computers for fun and profit, with the and profit crossed out, because any of you out there who have built accessories for vintage computers, in almost all cases, except for a few of us, it's not a profit-seeking endeavor.
I'm only in it for the money, remember?
Yeah, you're the only one that makes money on it.
What, you mean you didn't make a couple of million off of Roundup?
couple of million micro pennies. And then the final course is going to be taught by Christopher Heiser, Exploring 513, a technical look at VIS. 513 is the Tandy internal code name for the VIS project. VIS was the Video Information System project that you may know about. It was a very weak, weakly powered Tandy multimedia PC without a keyboard that they sold. And it was a commercial flop and failure. But it has, because of that, it's an endearing hardware product. And there are a few people, Chris Heiser being one of them, in the world that have taken it under their wing. And he's gotten it to the point now where he can actually develop software for it. So he's going to be talking about how you can get a VIS up and running and how you can actually program to it and create modern day software for it. So that should be really exciting. And then on the exhibitors, we'll just quickly go through them. I'm not going to go into detail because there are so many. The great news is that all of our tables are sold out. And this year, because of the demand, exhibitors can only have one table, and we still sold them all out. So we'll have 30 different exhibitors. It'll be the largest number of exhibitors ever to appear at Tandy Assembly. So I'm going to be there. Mav is going to be there. Arno Puder and Matt Boyton are going to be there. TRS-80 project. Joel Hilliard's going to have an exhibit. Marcel as well. He's going to have his exhibit. Kenneth Varan is going to be there. He's always got a bunch of computers for sale. So if you're interested in buying something, he'll have one for you. Matt Massey's going to have some updates to Nitrous 09. Tim is going to have a table. I still have TBD on the title of your exhibit, Tim. So
I'll send that in. I
Okay.
think I got it figured out. Sorry.
Awesome, no problem. Scott Tonenson's going to be there with some Model 4s and a Lobo Max 80. Simon McCullough's going to have a TRS-80 Model 12. Michael Hill, he owns that Tech Dungeon business where he sells all sorts of products and hardware for Tandy computers and all sorts of knickknacks for sale. Randy Kindig from Floppy Days is going to be there. Scott Ellentuck from Tuck's Workbench. He sells a lot of parts and components for your TRS-80s. Jay Newworth, same thing. He's a reseller and builder of power supplies and all sorts of parts for your TRS-80s. We talked about Mike Lowen's going to be there, CPM and a Model 3. That's the title of his exhibit. So we'll see that up and running, that rare combination of CPM and a Model 3. Paul Burrell's going to be there. He's not sure what his exhibit's going to be yet, but he'll have a table. Paul Fiscarelli from Windex Systems. Stephen Frey from the Dayton Computer Museum is going to be there again. Neil Blanchard from the Coco Crew is going to be there with working Tandy 2000. Eric Canales is going to have a TDP 100 and an Alice. Jim Brain's going to be there. He's going to have a table. Brendan Donahue's there every year since the beginning with his Pi Key, Coco VGA, and this new Coco X SID. Malcolm Ramey's going to be there. Mark Marlette, Corey Blosser, Jeff Burt, Frank Palazzolo, Paulo Garcia, Alex Gayer, Mark Pecan. Full house, guys. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, so if you haven't already signed up, sign up as an attendee. You can sign up right on the webpage, on the homepage. You can pre-register right online. The more people pre-register, we have a better idea of how many are going to be attending. That helps us plan the show better. That's all I had. Thanks.
That's great, Pete. Thanks for that summary of it. I'm looking forward to it now. Still trying to get good economical airfares, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. And yeah, so hopefully, well, soon we should have the third speaker for Sunday, and we will, like I always say, keep an eye on the trash on the Tandy Assembly Facebook page for updates. I've got to sort of start producing more frequent updates on the page, but they'll start coming thick and fast once we're getting closer to the pointy end before the show starts. Okay, just a quick bit of news. Dusty, hello.
Yeah, good morning,
Yeah.
everyone. I hope that
Hey, how
you're
you going?
well.
I just wanted to, I'll come back to you in a minute. I just wanted to alert you while I remembered. Your email box is full. It's all bouncing back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
All right. All right. I'll come back to you in about 15.
Yeah.
All right. George Phillips, howdy.
Howdy, yeah.
You got something cool there.
I do. I've been playing around with a green thumb ROM. I'll just share my screen here on the desktop. Hopefully this works. That looks about right. And you can still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So if you're not familiar with it, Project Green Thumb is this thing that Tandy and Motorola, and I think it was the University of Illinois worked on. It was a online information service. It was designed to give farmers access to, timely information they needed, like weather and commodity prices. And so the original one was this, they built this prototype box, which was, you can see it's housed in a Model 1 case, and it has a little keypad and all that. It hooks up to a TV and a modem line. And so that project was successful, and it led to the Videotex project, which, sort of a more general purpose online terminal that Radio Shack sold. And if you think it looks like a color computer, it's no coincidence, because of course that then became the sort of basis for the color computer itself, based on that hardware. So Jerry Heap, a Tandy engineer, he worked on the project, and uh, fairly recently he donated his original prototype hardware to Eddie Malfris, as part of a sort of museum kind of piece. And recently Eddie dumped the ROM, and as soon as he done that, I knew that I just wanted to emulate this thing. So I asked Eddie, and he sent me the ROM, and I got to work on it. And the process of actually emulating these things is a little bit interesting, so I'm going to go over it just a little bit before I demo what I've got so far. So if anybody hands you a ROM, the first thing you want to do is just open it up in your editor, because you can learn a lot. And in this case, it looks like garbage, and that's good, because if it's real code for the firmware, it is going to look like crap. If it's full of zeros and Fs, or if it's all the same thing, then it's probably a bad ROM dump. You just go into hex edit mode, you can see it's only a 2K ROM, so there's not much to see. We can see here at the very bottom, there's a few nice text strings. GTB entered, data, place call, overflow abort, ready to view. So this feels pretty good actually looking at it, and that, it's got sort of random data, and it's actually nice to see a bit of structured data in the middle here. And it actually has some strings we recognize. So, it looks like it's a good dump. So what I did was I thought, well, okay, the Green Thumb is basically the granddaddy of the Videotex and the Coco. So we'll just pop it into our local 6809 disassembler and see what it does. And so we did that and got out something like this. Oops, let me scroll to the top. And so at first glance, you might think, well, this looks like good 6809 code. But if you follow along at 0, you say, oh, first we branch down to 41. And then at 41, it says, oh, FCB. That just means a data byte, i.e. an invalid instruction. And so you look through this thing eventually, and I was sort of poring over it, desperately trying to understand it, but fairly quickly came to the conclusion this thing doesn't have a 6809 in it. It's something else. Well, then Peter did something, actually sensible. He actually looked at the schematic for it. And so Jerry had a schematic, and Eddie had a picture of it. And if you sort of zoom in here and take a closer look, may not be able to read it, but you see it says MC3870. Well, that ain't no 6809. In fact, if you go look it up, you find out that it's a Fairchild F8. So I'm not going to be able just to drop this into TRS-80 GP and have it kind of work. I'm going to have to actually, figure this out. The nice part is that MAME, the arcade emulator, it has a program that comes with it called Unidasm, which basically can disassemble anything. So what I did is I dropped the ROM into Unidasm just to take a look at it. So it comes out with something like this. And this may or may not look any better than the original listing, but if you actually look at it and you don't even really necessarily, I don't understand Fairchild F8 at this point, but you can sort of see it starts out, it's like it's doing something, and then there's this nice BNZ3 here, which is like, oh, it's actually, that's probably a branch back to 3, so it's maybe doing a nice little loop. So even though you don't understand any of this code at the moment, the structure is good. And there's another good thing here is that if I look for 77D, I notice that there's a nice instruction here which is actually loading address 77D. It's also a good sign because 77D was where one of the messages were in ROM. So like this thing feels like it actually fits together, and it probably is in fact Fairchild F8. Don't want to make too many rash assumptions. So what this means is that I'm going to need to write an F8 emulator. And believe it or not, this is really the easy part. The reason it's easy is because the guys who make these chips want you to buy them, and you're not going to buy them unless you know how they work. So you just find the data sheet and it tells you everything you need to know. So if you just look at this here, it says, look, here's all the operations. Here's the name we give them. Here's the hexadecimal values that they, as it should be seen in memory. So just about everything you need to know is right in the data sheet. And the other thing I did, which I've done before on these unusual processors, is the only thing that's really tricky about the emulation is that any mistake is horrible. Because if you make a mistake in an instruction, now you're running through a program and you don't really understand what the program does. And if you've got a mistake in an instruction, now you've got this sort of, issue buried deep. So one thing I did to sort of mitigate that was that my first step was I wrote my own disassembler. And so it goes through and just does the same thing that the main thing does. And I worked on that until it output the same stuff as the original disassembler was. So I know it was working. And this is great because it sort of solves half the problem. It's kind of a skeleton to hang your emulator off, because an emulator and a disassembler are related, and they both have to sort of, look at some binary data and say, oh, what particular instruction that is. And then the disassembler is just going to print that instruction, say, oh, that's an add or a subtract or whatever. Whereas an emulator, of course, is actually going to do what the thing is supposed to do, and then they both move on to the next instruction. So by kind of combining these together, I at least verify that sort of, the very simple thing of making sure that the right data gets the right instruction is going to be correct. I mean, there's still plenty of room for mistakes, but, it's not too bad. Now, the processor involved, the Fairchild F8, is a real piece of work. It's one of the early, sort of embedded system microcontroller things. So it's pretty Spartan. So I have my summary here, and believe me, I could go on for days about this, but I'll try and keep it brief. It's so Spartan. You do have 64 scratch pad registers, R0 through R63, although they're really more scratch pad than register because only 12 of them you can access directly. All the rest of them, you actually have to use something called IS, which is a register you load to point to the register scratch pad location you want, and then you can add or subtract from it or whatever and move on. So it's very tricky to use. And this thing is like that, sort of like a used car, right? Because you sort of get it and you think it works, right? And you say, okay, what about these registers? Well, you can decrement the registers, but it doesn't have an increment for some reason. The accumulator is the opposite. It's like the accumulator has an increment, but it doesn't have a decrement. It's like, I guess there wasn't room for it, but geez. It has the usual operations. You can add, you can AND or XOR, but for whatever reason, it doesn't have a subtract. If you want to subtract something, then you better negate the value and add it. It's a real do-it-yourself thing. There's no stack. Stack is normally what you keep track of calls, but what they have for a subroutine call is mysteriously called PI, and you give it the address you want to call. And to return, it's pop. Well, it's actually P0P. So what happens is, since you don't have a stack, when you do the PI, it goes to that address, and then it saves the return address in the P register. And then pop basically reverses that. And so what acts as a return is that you take your whatever was in the P register, stick it back into your program counter. I don't know why they've called the program counter P0 instead of PC, but hey, no big deal. And that's fine. But of course, if you want to actually call a subroutine within a subroutine, then you got to do the stack yourself. Oh, and also they make a note that when you do a call, it wipes out the accumulator because you weren't using that anyways. All your memory access is through a single register called DC, which is for data counter. Oh, and by memory, I mean ROM. It doesn't give you access to RAM. If you want to have something fancy like RAM on your system, then you're going to have to do it yourself and use IO ports and send out the address and then send out a signal for the RAM to listen and then send out the data and then turn off the signal for the RAM to listen and continue on. And in fact, when I looked in the code, one of the first things I found was a subroutine, which is essentially poke. So it's about 20 instructions just to put something into RAM. And so I was quite relieved that I would not have to write programs for this thing, but I was a little distressed that I would have to actually work through the code and understand it. Although secretly, I love its weirdness. So I went into this thing and implemented stuff, and after a bit of trial and error, I actually got it to come up and do the prompt. So I'll just run the emulator here so you can see it. So it's got my little software keyboard here. And so the thing pops up with a sort of mysterious green thumb box. 4 is probably the version number, enter ID, item number, data. And this would be great, but the other problem in this little puzzle is we don't know exactly how this thing works. There doesn't seem to be any existing documentation as to what you can do. And it took a little while to figure out the keyboard scanning and so on, but I got that worked out. It turns out that the interrupt routine better be running, otherwise the keyboard scan doesn't work for some kind of reason. But then basically it's time to sort of monkey around the keyboard and you discover, oh, okay, I can type letters. And it turns out that the clear button actually acts as a backspace. So that's cool. And star actually puts a space in there. And then I discovered that number sign, it goes to a new line and you can still type and things like that. And backspace, I think, still works. Maybe it doesn't. Oh yeah, it does. And then if you do another number sign, it says place call, which sounds promising, but it seems to be sort of stuck in here. And like if you do and now if you hit the clear thing, it actually gets you back to the start again. I was like wondering what it's doing, and also I found that the next page and the last page buttons seem to do nothing, and neither does send. Well, after a while and looking at the code, I sort of figured it out. It's like, it's staring me right in the face there. It says, look, enter your ID, press the star, enter the item number, and then your data, and then the number sign, data, and number sign. So it's actually telling you how to operate it. It's fully documented. I don't know what was wrong with me. So then you can, why is it not typing here? I don't know, maybe I would just reset the thing. So sure enough, what you can do is that I found out when I did that, it is actually sending data. So if I hook up a DT1 the modem line on this, and I'll type in some stuff here, do the number sign like it asked me, put in a data number and ask me. And at this point now, this is actually when the send key works. I think you're going to have to actually dial the phone and so on. So if you do that, there's a pause, and then hopefully we should see on the DT1 there a little bit of data comes up, and you can see it's kind of a binary protocol. It's actually sent out 123, which is probably your login ID or something like that, and it's waiting for a response. So this is good. This is really good. It's actually doing something. Still don't know what it does from here, but something is happening. So I was looking in the code, trying to figure out what was happening. And you come to this point that's a little bit disturbing. And you can see it here, right here at this address 237. And it's a load register P0 with Q. Remember, P0 is a program counter. Q is one of the registers. So what it's actually doing is it's computing an address in the ROM and jumping to it. And you don't know where it is. And as soon as you see that, you know, well, it's kind of interpreting something, right? It's like it's a byte code or some other kind of thing, which is complicated. So I thought to myself, well, this is some kind of bytecode interpreter. And I started figuring it out. Peter thought it was a state machine. And after 2 or 3 days, I had to admit he was right. It's a state machine. So I pulled it apart and you found out all the transitions and stuff like that. And I got it into kind of a raw form. And then Peter went and converted it into a full-on nice visual form so you can follow along. And this looks a bit messy, but it's fairly straightforward. It's like you're in one of these states, and then a particular byte might come in. So say you start in this login state, and then it's a little bit, and then if you see byte 10 here comes in, and that takes you to state 39. And so it's basically like a little bit of a puzzle or an adventure game, right? Well, this is the maze, and you just got to find your way through it to get to the good parts. Although there is a little bit here where it's cut off, so okay, there's a little bit more to it. Oh, okay. There's this other part to it. Okay, well that's fine. So it's a little bit more complicated. Oh, there's another part. Okay. Oh, there's this part too. It turns out it's a little more complicated than I bargained for. But it's not too bad actually, because in hindsight, these blobs are all kind of major things. This first blob up here is where it's actually sending the login information. And the second blob is where it's sending that other stuff you typed. The third blob, I'm not sure what the third blob is. It's something about options. And then the fourth blob is actually about downloading pages to the beast. So I fiddled around with the emulator, and I used all the debugging and tracing and other tools that sort of come along with it, and was able to actually find my way through the maze and get something to happen. So I'll fire it up here. And what I did was at first I just handcrafted, something to send to it, just as absolutely fixed data so that it would actually get through and display a page. And I got that to happen. And then I wrote a little program for the Model 3 that would talk over its RS-232 to send to this thing. So it's acting as a little bit of a mini server for the thing. And so if I fire this up, what you'll see is that I fire up 2 instances of TRS-80 GP. There's the Green Thumb emulation on the left, and there's the Model 3 running my server program on the right. And then I use the input injection just to type in, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and stuff, so I don't have to type that in on the fly. And it's just waiting for me to press enter. So if I press enter, which is send, and so do the send, and you can see that the server is now seeing the thing, seeing the extra data, and it's just responding kind of blindly. And the thing is nice enough to show you at least the first page while it's downloading. And the little data light is flickering too up there in the software keypad. So, something's happening. And then what I've had it done is just download 2 pages. And the reason I only download 2 pages is because I'm not sure how to get the pages in the right order in the emulator. If I download 3 pages, I can only see one of them. If I download 4, they come up in the wrong order, but there's just a few bugs to fix. But then after a bit, the server actually puts a D here just to say, okay, I'm done doing my thing. And the green thumb, as you can see, puts ready to view here, which is your clue that finally the next page and last page, or next page and previous page things actually work. So I can go here and I just did a little semi-graphics bar chart with my artistic skills, such as they are. And so you can go back and forth. And so I've got it so it can, download pages. And then at this point, the clear thing is active and it takes you back to the start. So presumably you can sign on again. And there's probably other things this can do. There's maybe a hint it actually supports graphics, but I haven't found that out yet. And there's still some mysterious, points in the protocol in terms of what states it can have and so on. So I think I've got it about 3/4 figured out based on, the paths I've traversed, but there's still more to be done. So I don't know if anybody had any questions about this whole business.
Show the debugger.
Oh yes, the debugger. Yeah, so here it sees the thing going along, executing, and it also I've stuck in my disassembly as source code. So it's going to be a little bit small here, but you can see it's actually, following along on the source with my kind of explanation of how this works. So it's in the keyboard scan routine naturally. And here you can look at your scratch pad. And then here's some of the sort of the easy to access registers are up here. And then there's your accumulator and all that. So yeah, I took a different approach this time. Often I'll sort of, get an emulation going and then add the debugger and all this other stuff. But instead I did it as I was going along, and it turned out to be really useful because it helped me figure things out.
Exciting to see working green thumb.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be in the next release of TRS-80 GP. And it's cool to see, but I think I'm going to have to wrap it in something so that it does something, or at least, instructions included, because it's hard to use without knowing anything about it.
There hasn't been any green thumb server side software found yet, right?
I haven't heard anything. No, Eddie has some like descriptions of what the menu system, the subjects were, or something like that. So, but that's the most detail I've seen on what the thing could do. And there's some talk about it being able to download weather maps and stuff, but I don't know if that was talk or it was actually possible. It's possible. It uses the same, SAM and VDG as the video text and the color computer. So it could, and it's got enough RAM to display graphics, so it could happen. But I don't know if the firmware can do that.
Well, it makes sense that, you enter your ID in the item and the data and send, and then it calls up and connects and downloads the data and then disconnects, because back then, long distance phone calls were expensive.
Yeah,
So you
I
just
think
want
so.
to connect, grab the data and then get off.
Yeah, it seems to be its way of operation. There's some states in there that seem to suggest maybe an interactive ability to download more pages or something, but that remains to be seen. Yeah, I agree with you though. It probably makes the most sense, like you say, get it and get out, because this is a serious phone system. It's not for computers.
Well, you got the next page and last page buttons, right? So I'm sure that ties in there somewhere.
Yeah, it seems to be this sort of batch thing where it sits there and it will download as many pages as it can or as it needs, and then it stops, right? so that you can sit there and browse it while you're offline.
So that whole state machine there, that all resides in the ROM?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's only a couple bytes for each state.
Hmm.
Each state has a handler for it, and then there's 2 or 3 bytes typically that say, you know, what transitions you can make. And so one of the ones you see here is like this test checksum is a pretty common one. So most of the time what they'll do is like you see here from ignore, a 2 will actually take you into handler 08. And coincidentally, there's a 2 up here on the Model 3 screen. But in this test checksum, you see that there's a default transition, which means if nothing else, go to 33, but on FF, go to 27. And what that actually is it turns out that test checksum computes what the checksum could be and replaces that FF with the checksum. So if the next byte comes in and it matches, then it means the checksum matches and you go forward and say everything's okay. Otherwise, the state 33 is actually going to report an error ultimately, I think. So it's probably I think it's about 200 or 300 bytes. So it's a fairly significant portion of the ROM.
How come you guys were surprised that it was not the 6809? So I take from that no terminal, no green sum terminal survived. So only the ROM, but no hardware where you guys could actually look what CPU was inside there. Or
Well,
nobody had opened it yet.
I think the short answer is that sometimes you make assumptions and do dumb things. But that Jerry's original prototype hardware, Eddie has that. So not only did we have this, or I should say, not only did I have the schematic, and he had photographs of the board, but we just sort of assumed based on common knowledge that, you know, green thumb, video deck, Coco, it must be a 6809, right? It's like, gee, there wasn't a 6809 on the board pictures and there wasn't one on the schematic, but it must be a 6809, right? Wrong.
So after all, when they then designed the Coco, it was a significant piece of, re-engineering. They couldn't just reuse the hardware design, right?
Sort of. The video text was basically a Coco. You know, it had the 6809 and the VDG and the SAM. It lacked an extra PIA and some of the other stuff like, you know, the cassette and joystick. So the Coco wasn't a huge leap from the video text.
This must have been a real revolutionary thing back in 1980. I mean, stuck out in a farm in the middle of nowhere, thousands of miles from any big combinations. To get a weather report, it must have been quite revolutionary, I thought.
Definitely. And in fact, it says in here that the prototype was in 1978, so even a little bit earlier. So maybe this ran in 79 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking, why wouldn't they have just used the Model 1, right? The Model 1 was out late 77. Was this more?
Well, that's true. That's true, Pete. But by the time you kit out a Model 1 with a modem and everything for communications duties, it's a pretty expensive machine. Whereas this looks like it was pitched as an all-in-one box for a couple of $100 that would connect to your phone line and television and get you information, you know, as cheaply as possible. By the time you kit out a Model 1, you'd need an expansion interface, serial port, disk drive, modem, and while we think it's pretty obvious these days, probably at the time, some of these farmers mightn't have wanted to expend that much money. So yeah, okay, that's cool, George.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll be able
Any
to
last
update you.
questions? Any last questions about it before we move on?
Just to point out that there's quite a lot of documentation on the website. It was a research product, so there's one document is a survey of video tech systems at this time, and there's a massive report on, I guess, how well the system worked and what didn't work. They did say that the actual green thumb box was the most reliable part.
The other thing I wanted to say before we move on, Pete, as well, is that it's clearly designed for non-computerists, whereas you stick a Model 1 in front of a non-computer person and it kind of might be a little bit overwhelming, whereas a box with a keypad on it and clear instructions on how to operate, the keys, would probably be able to be taken up by non-computer people at the time. So
Yeah, it looks like a telephone, right? Simple
yeah,
enough.
exactly. Okay, moving right along. Who's here for the first time? Has everyone been here before? All right. Okay, I'm just going to pick people at random. Let's go to Craig Cole.
Hello.
Hey, Craig.
Sorry, it's a few minutes late. Is this just a recap? What have I been up to? Or an introduction? Sorry, I missed the beginning.
You can give us is this your first time here?
No, second time. So,
okay. Yeah, just tell us what you've been up to. And if you've been up to nothing, just say you haven't been up to anything, because we all have lives and, don't.
No, this has been kind of an extraordinary month for me, actually. I've made a lot of progress on this Model 1 that I have. Let me see. The short story is, back in high school when I had the TRS-80, I managed to hang on to all my software, disk drives, cassette drives, cassette tapes, books, manuals, everything, but I didn't keep the computer. So now I have the computer, and now I'm kind of reuniting all my stuff with it. And of course, there's a lot of times elapsed since then, so everything's needed work. And I started what I thought would be the easy thing, and that was the tape recorder, the CTR-80, I guess it is. Let me see, I got it here. It's a I got it in front of me here. That one. That one took a tremendous amount of work to make working again. I was very happy though. I did finally get through it. I think it ultimately boiled down to some wiring inside had corroded to the point where they broke, and it burned out a couple of the output transistors. So it was way more involved. For a little while, I didn't think I was going to be able to save it, but it all came together. I'm happy to say it's working great, loading programs, or at least as good as it ever did. So, and so that was exciting. But then the other thing was, once I got that going, that took like a month or so of work for me to poking at it at weekends to finally get there. I thought it was just going to be a belt change, but it ended up being a lot harder. But the real thing I'm excited about is, I don't know if you can see it here, but my disk drives are working again. So I'm really, really thrilled to say, it didn't take a whole lot to make them work again. What did I need to do to them? Well, they needed a whole lot of new lubrication. It was, for a little while, I felt like one power supply was flaky. I recapped both power supplies. I did that while I had everything apart. And then after that, it started to work. I think it just needed a little time to break in again. But I'm really happy to say that both drives are working. I've been able to boot off of both. It took me a while to find disks that would work on it, because right now I only have the single density capability. I don't have the double density adapter yet. And I'm looking forward to that. And then a lot of the discs that I had from back in the day are still working. And so, yeah, it's been a thrilling month or so.
That's awesome. Are you thinking of coming along to Tandy Assembly?
I would love to. I have not. Yeah, I don't know if I can do it, but I really want to.
Okay, that's cool. That's a standard response from most people. And the good thing is that eventually most people do find the time to come along at some point in time. So it'll be good to see you when you finally get there.
Yeah. Hey,
cool.
Craig, question. What brand drive enclosure was that?
It was a Percom drive. It's Siemens, I forget, FD105 or something drive inside or something. But yeah, they're all labeled Percom.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Percom was a reseller of aftermarket drives for a lot of different computers. not just Radio Shack ones. But one thing I noticed looking at their product line is that there's no set Percom TRS-80 disk drive. It was whatever they could get their hands on at a good price, and they would stick it in an enclosure and put a Percom badge on it and sell it. Yeah, I'm sort of impressed that you got your drives working properly, because they didn't always use the last word in quality as far as drives and power supplies and stuff at
I've been on a roll.
Percom. Yeah. No, that's cool. All right, moving right along. Dusty, how's things going in Britain?
Yeah, pretty good, really. It's the middle of summer and we're having temperatures approaching 40 degrees centigrade, which is unbelievable, but it's a bit overpowering. But before I start, look at this map. These have appeared in the UK, I think, for the first time.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, they're taking over the world. I
That-
know. Yeah. All the
It's an
Canucks.
original Australian one. It says on the packet. There you go.
Yep.
And
Well, the
they were-
Canucks have started to find them in Walmart, I think in Canada as well, and I think most Walmarts are starting to carry them now. But we have the biggest range of different flavors and experimental Tim Tams. So I always try to bring some of the weirder ones with me to the show.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I just thought you'd cheer you up. Just to thank everybody who contributed to the June edition. I've got a couple of items already for September. We can always do with more if anybody's interesting. But other than that, Al Wallace was interesting. He's upgraded his version of Star Trek. Now, I know the lad doesn't enjoy the best of health, so it's just nice to see him encouraging, and I'm pleased he's still busy and breathing away. I haven't spoken or I've not emailed him for a while, but I assume things are going okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. There was a good selection. I thought it was a good selection of stuff. I've limited it to 92 pages, I think it was. Yeah, 92, because of the production size. We're noticing there's a big row going on in the UK at the minute with Microsoft. They're not just not in continuing use supporting it. They're absolutely going to abandon, they think, publisher, and they're going to get it so that when you're on Office 365, it will actually remove the software from your computer. So there's a big row going on about that at the minute. Well, I say, but you know what I mean. It's a shame, really, because nobody else seems to produce anything on similar sort of lines as modern as that. And they're saying, "Oh, use Word." Well, Word is not a good substitute for Microsoft Publisher, just as Microsoft Publisher is not a good substitute for writing letters. Anyway, that's enough from my dribble. George, TRS-80 GP, absolutely wonderful. Acadad floppy tape working well. I was just saying, all the development work we do, because ET wrote the program for I Ching, and that was all done on. We sorted it all out. It was all done on the wafers and the floppy tape and all the rest of it. So it's great. It's just like being back in the 1980s without any of the hardware problems. Looking forward to seeing you all on the Tandy Assembly. I hope it will all be recorded. And Pete, will you be able to manage that again, do you think?
Yep.
Excellent. So I shall attend in spirit and online, but unfortunately not in person.
Yeah, it'll always be recorded, even if it doesn't go out live. And Randy's pretty proactive at getting the videos out online. So we make sure that you watch it. Thanks for that, Dusty.
Yeah. Oh, can I just add one more thing? Because it doesn't show up very well in the magazine. We're thinking of. We got our competition, the impossible puzzle, which I really think it's an impossible puzzle. But there's also an idea if you can suggest a theme or program or problem for the 2026 competition, there's a small prize. And this is it. Can you see it better? Yeah, it's There's quite a few of them about, but they're relatively rare. It's from September '82. In England, they do collecting memorable postage stamps, and there was a couple sent to cover the technology in 1982, and that's the prize. Anyway, it doesn't show very well. It shows too well here, does it? Yeah, but you can see what it is. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Okay. No worries. Thanks for that, Dusty. Jay Critty, you could join us. How crazy was VCF 2 weeks ago?
Oh, it was an experience. Although I don't get to see most of it. I mean, I think you noticed I'm kind of, the passing ship in the night that you just kind of run into here and there. But yeah, it was a pretty wild experience. I mean, we really exceeded our attendance numbers. I think we had over 1,600 come through the door for VCF, so that was incredible. We had a lot of great presentations. As I think some of you alluded to, both halls were just packed with people. I mean, just an incredible energy about the whole thing. So yeah, it was amazing to see everyone again and to, get back in the thick of it. And we're looking forward to next year. We're going to be back in one facility again. We're going to be at the Westin DFW Hotel, where it's larger than the setup we had this year, but we'll have everything together within one space. So looking forward to that, and updates for other things I'm working on. I mean, the keyboard project still there. I think I've got about 25 units between Model 3 and Model 4 left. I don't really have plans to produce any more after that. So, if you're looking for a keyboard, get your orders in pretty soon. But yeah, so working on that, trying to think of some new projects I could do. Like one thing I kind of made as a quick and dirty model is, if you've bought my keyboard before, my keyboard has provisions for you to hook up a DB9 joystick, like Atari style joystick ports. I did a quick model where I kind of scabbed that onto the with the floppy 80 disc sled there. I've also designed a little model that I'm almost finished with, where if you have a diskless Model 3 or Model 4, I guess, it's a little snap-in cover that can cover up the drive bays. Because I guess that was an option where if you had the diskless model, there was something that was pre-attached on the backside of the case. But I've designed one that can just kind of snap in as a cover to cover up the holes if you, or let's say you have a Model 3 where the drives were taken out for parts or something, you can cover up those gaps there in the front. So I've got a model I've designed for that, and just trying to think of some future new projects I can work on that will be not too much money in tooling or production costs. That's about it.
That's great. And thanks for joining us. Are you thinking of coming to Tandy Assembly this year, or is it a bit of a stretch?
Well, I mean, I do have the time to do it. I've actually sent a message to Joel, and I might be reaching out to Eric and whoever else as well to see if I could maybe bum a ride with someone. But yeah, I will endeavor to make an appearance.
The funnest ride, I think, would probably be with Eric, because he can get that thing up to 110 at some point.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Kilometers per hour or miles per hour?
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So I was quite impressed with the VCF, and happy that I went to it. I made a few rookie mistakes while I was there, but other than that, I had a great time. So I'm looking forward to it next year, and I'll probably try to encourage more of the other TRS-80 people to fly down to Dallas and come along. So yeah, it was a great show. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, I think you manifested something, because after your talk on the System 80, I started seeing literature and references to System 80 everywhere. So all of a sudden now you've awoken me to the System 80 as where I had no idea before that machine existed.
I'm a little bit influential. Let's put it that way.
Sure are.
All right. So we're about an hour in. I'm going to talk about the magazine. So I don't know how many people have downloaded the link from archive.org, but I'll just show you here what it looks like. So this is my original one that I bought at the time in 1984. So at the time, I was a subscriber to 80 Micro, Rainbow, Hot Cocoa. There was one other one. I think it was Australian Personal Computer. So I didn't actually spend a lot of time in news agents, but I was walking through one time and I saw this sitting there, computer user. Okay, well, that's what I am. And then I was sort of if you have a look at the top there, it says for the Tandy Radio Shack system. So here's a magazine I'd never heard about. And this issue was the first one that was available in Australia. So this is volume 2, issue 2, February 1984. So Computer News 80 is Computer User was actually mentioned in David Welch's book, Priming the Pump, that they came along fairly late to the party, as it were. In 1983, they reached out to all the advertisers in 80 Micro and said, do you want to sign up for advertising for our new magazine? We'll give you it at a reduced rate, and there'll be lots of exposure. And so in these early issues of Computer User, you can see ads in there from all the popular advertisers at the time. But the magazine was kind of a bit too late and also a little bit too serious. Like, it has very little to do with entertainment or games or anything. It's designed for kind of serious computerists. And so I like the magazine for that reason, but I can also understand that since it tried to cover serious computerists and all TRS-80 models, from pocket computers through color computers through the Z80s all the way up to the 8-inch systems, all in the one magazine, it was kind of a great homage to the TRS-80 product, but never really had one defining thing about it. I got a few of the issues, but the early ones I still need for my collection. So they must have been very difficult. Must be very difficult to get a hold on. So I'm going to start with going through some of the pages of it. So do you want to put it up on the screen, Pete? Are you available to do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Yep. So rolling right up to the top.
Oh, it's not rendering great.
It's because of your slow internet. Yeah, so we start off with an ad for the Tandy 2000, which at this point in time has been out for about 2 months. So it's the wow computer of the time. It hasn't turned out to be the flop at this time that it turned out to be. Scrolling down to pages 2 and 3, we have the contents. What's interesting here is that Computer User managed to actually rope in good writers from the time. So we've got articles here on page 23 by Hardin Brothers. He was one of the major writers for 80 Micro. And was another one on page 86. We go down a little bit. We've got a article by Richard Ramella, who was also a very prolific writer for various TRS-80 magazines at the time. And also, where if you just scroll down a tiny bit, up a tiny bit, that gentleman there, where it says Assembly Hall, that's William Barden Jr., who's written a bunch of books for TRS-80. So they've got a pretty powerful bunch of writers for their magazine there. Okay, down one page, what I considered to be quite progressive at the time. The managing editor of the magazine's actually a woman, and she did a very good job of writing very interesting editorials as far as I remember reading them. Okay, so as you page through it, you see a lot of the regular advertisements that you would have seen in 80 micro at the time. Once we get to page 14, we get an article about upgrading the Model 3 to 48K. They call it building the super micro. So in this series, building the super micro, they're taking a Model 3 and I think they're going to upgrade it from a cassette system to a disk system with 4 internal disk drives, 48K RAM, and a serial board. And I think in a later episode edition, they also added a CPM mapper board with 80 column display to really supercharge this Model 3. So this article itself is just about upgrading it to 48K. Moving along to page 18 and 19, can see yep, there some scientific article there. Well, like I was saying, this is mainly the focus of computer user was not on entertainment. Really, it's about real world applications for computers. There's an ad for VHS tapes with instructions on how to use a computer. You've got some of these tapes, haven't you, Pete, from memory?
Yeah, I posted them up on YouTube. I don't think it's this particular brand, but in the same vein.
I'd be interested to see what's happened to them all, because looking at that list on the right there, they had a lot of different tapes for a lot of things, including LDOS, Lazy Writer, NewScript, Profile 3 Plus. Lots of interesting VHS tapes. Scrolling down further, we've got the usual ad for the cathode ray tube replacements. Yep, that one there. I've still got my Langley Sinclair advertised everywhere.
RIP.
Yep. And the next page, this is where it gets interesting for you 8-inch guys, is this is an ad by Phase 1 Systems for their Oasis multi-user operating system for the Model 2, 12, and 16.
Oh, yeah.
Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, we have a copy of it. We've actually to boot it. I forgot how far we got with actually using it, though. I don't think we've gone too far.
Yeah. So that's an alternative multi-user operating system for the 8-inch system. So I thought that was interesting seeing the ad there. If we then jump forward to page 26, 28, Peter, we have a comparison there of the Apple IIe versus the Model 4 in a classroom situation. Interesting article. Obviously, it's going to be leaning more towards the TRS-80 over the Apple, though in hindsight, with some 35 years behind us, to me, they both have their application is too different to be able to properly compare them. But anyway, it's an interesting article. I think they like the idea that mainly that you could plonk the TRS-80 on a table and the student can't walk off with it, whereas they conceivably still could with a disk drive, stick it in their bag and walk off with it. So we've got other articles on there in there on page 84. There's something about polynomial functions in on a pocket computer by the look of it. And if anyone knows me, they know I'm a bit of a math junkie. I love math. I'm one of the few people in the world who can say that. So I find articles like that extremely interesting. Yeah. So that's essentially it. You can just scroll through there and see all the typical stuff.
So how many years did this magazine run for? Do you know?
I believe it didn't make it to the end of 2 years. So I think it only got to about 16 or 17 issues. And like I said, the early ones from first year of 1983 are extremely hard to find. Yeah.
Yeah, they got it getting late in the TRS-80.
Yeah, and I think the problem there was that people by then, by 83 and 84, had got used to buying a specific magazine for their machine. So us Z80 guys bought 80 micro, and the Coco people were buying Rainbow, and the Model 100 people were buying forget what it was called, or Portable Micro or whatever it was, magazine, whatever it was called. But there's still an interesting read, and occasionally you do learn something here or there, like you do with all magazines from back in the day. There's no glaring predictions in this one of the future that didn't come to pass, which are probably the most interesting thing about reading old magazines. But yeah, so they even got Tandy to advertise in the thing, which getting advertising money out of Tandy, I hear, was you know quite a task at some point. So yeah, there's even got a disc zapper program there for the Coco that you could type in. Because like all magazines, this one had programs you could type in. So yeah. Any questions on it before we move on?
So is this widely available? Like, I just plain don't remember this.
Yeah, it was at the time you owned your Model 1, were you buying magazines at a newsstand, or were you a subscriber, Craig?
Now I was getting at the newsstand, like B. Dalton and other things, but I was pretty much 80 micro, but every now and then if I saw like basic computing pop up or something, I'd buy that. But
this one was
I just plain don't remember this one.
Yeah, this one was widely available, but its cover doesn't jump out at you that it's a TRS-80 magazine.
That might have been.
Yeah, it might have been there, and you didn't put two and two together that the tiny bit at the top says it's for Radio Shack computers, and that might have been part of its downfall. Is that until you picked it up and bought it and read it, and you realized it wasn't just aimed for computer users in general, which is what it seems to be. It's actually a specific Tandy Radio Shack magazine. So yeah, they do come up. I haven't seen any on eBay for ages as well. I think Ira has most of them scanned, if not all of them. So there's the program listings there that they put them all down the back of the magazine. Did have good artwork. The drawings and things in the magazine were quite well done.
Yeah, I like the drawings of the authors.
Yeah, they really did try to produce a polished product. It's too late, and it never really got on. And by 84 anyway, I'd moved on from playing games anyway, so I wasn't really interested in that sort of thing. So I like the magazine for that reason. But I think after I bought 4 issues of it, then my newsagent just said, I don't know what's happened, but they didn't send any more. So I think it even disappeared without even saying this is the last issue. Just one day they just didn't have enough money to continue printing it, and just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, if I saw this on the newsstand, I would think it's just a generic computer magazine. I wouldn't give it second thought back in the day because, like you
Yeah.
said, all the magazines were targeted towards different platforms.
Well, I can remember vaguely at the time I picked it up not because it had Tandy Radio Shack system on the top, but it had a cool picture of a Coco, and I'm looking at it, and then I realized, oh, this is another Tandy magazine. And so not all of their issues had pictures of Radio Shack computers, so it could have flown under the radar with so many buyers at the time. But yeah, so that's computer
I
user.
I don't think it ever made the UK, did it?
I can't speak for that. It really comes down to the importers and how many they want to send in one consignment to a country. Like when I realized that they were sending this to Australia, I would the major news agents which had all the world's computer journals would carry it, but some of the smaller ones only had 80 micro and hot cocoa, for example. They didn't have this, even though other places did. So very rare, very rare. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks for that, Pete.
I can't recall seeing one in the UK, but of course by '84, things had moved on. MS DOS was rearing its ugly head, and it was all IBM PCs because I worked with a lot of government installations in the day, and they were trying to generalize, and 8-bit Tandys, because they weren't readily available like they were in the States. And the other stuff like the BBC machine, which was a 6502, I think, wasn't it, processor, and the Sinclair Spectrum, which was a games machine. There wasn't anything really to replace the Tandys with. The few that there were, most of them were replaced with PCs.
Yeah, I don't fully understand how the magazine and newsagent distribution channels work. Like, so the importer to Australia may say, yeah, send us 1,500 copies of 80 micro, and the distributor might have said, we've got this other one here called Computer User. You want to give it a shot? We'll send you 100 issues. And just if run it up the flagpole. If people salute it, they'll keep bringing it. If it doesn't, they'll stop. So yeah, it's so there you go, Computer User. Okay, we've got about half an hour to go. So
Mav,
Jay,
one thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned, I just wanted to mention to the community. You talked about priming the pump, and that we had recently heard about the passing of Teresa Welch.
That's right, yes.
Which is pretty sad news. Obviously, she worked with David Welch on development of that book. So they're well known in the TRS-80 community. So we just want to pass on our condolences to the family and to David, who's, he's still around. And we're really sorry to hear that she's passed away.
Yeah, I had a good talk with her at Tandy Assembly when she came that time. She seemed really switched on and up for a chat about anything. She was good. I like Teresa. So yeah, she'll be missed. Okay, Jay Newith, you keeping cool there in Maryland?
No,
It's hot as hell.
hot as hell.
Okay.
Minus 4 degrees today,
wow.
48% humidity. So it's without air conditioning, mine's broken. So.
Okay. Oh,
I
wouldn't tolerate broken air conditioning.
Yeah, well, they're coming out next Tuesday to look at it and see what's going on.
Put one of your power supplies in there, get it working.
Yeah. Are things going well with you, Jay? You're all set for Tandy Assembly? You're starting to build things?
Yeah, I've got power supplies and sleds. Believe it or not, I've sold 3 of the combo sleds with Freds and Gotex in it. I've got 3 orders, but I'm waiting for your Freds to arrive because I can't build them without them. So
they'll go out midweek, but the transit to the US is very quick at the moment, which is
everything is fine. I'm just taking it easy.
Yep, that's good. Good to hear from you, and thanks for joining us, Jay. I'll see you at Tandy Assembly.
All right.
Michael Wessel. Hello.
Oh, hi. Yeah,
How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Hope you guys had a good 4th of July to the Americans and everybody is doing well. Yeah, so what was I up to? Yeah, until April, I did a lot of Z80 assembly coding, basically working with Joel for MIDI 80 and the tracker program, right? And I think it's really presenting MIDI 80 at all these events and doing these live performances. So I'm absolutely amazed that he actually is using this product and the software and gets something out there that sounds like music. I haven't been very successful in that regard, so that's nice. And I would have loved to see his performance at VCF Southwest, right? So I checked YouTube if there's any content out there, but I think his stand, his table, I haven't found yet. It was nice that all the talks are online and so I enjoyed watching that, and also your talk, Mav, about the System 80, right? So that was also very popular in Germany, for example, under the, and you mentioned that in your talk, right? Under the Genie brand, it was
That's right. Yeah.
so
Yep.
there was a company called Trommelschläger. So they were kind of importing from IACA. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, the original manufacturer, right? Yeah, other than that, right, so I'm preparing for my first BCF West, being an exhibitor for the first time, right? I've been there a few times as a visitor because it's basically next door. I live in Palo Alto and the show is in Mountain View, but I've never been an exhibitor. So for the first time, I'll have a table there too. And also our Bay Area Tandy Assembly group here will have a few tables. So as far as I know, Marcel will be there, Arno, right? And I think Paul Burrell was also coming from Oregon for a day or so. So we will see. That should be fun. And yeah, preparing for that basically, and hoping that my only one table, I'll have a Model 3 there, and well, I hope that it will, survive the tortures of a 2-day, 8 hours a day presentation there.
That would be great. Make sure you test everything the day before or the morning before the show, because Eric and I had no problems at all with our machines at BCF. They worked perfectly from the moment we put them on the table, didn't they, Eric?
Well, the Model 1 did, but the System 80 decided it wanted to start blowing fuses.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't want to come out and show us its brilliance, unfortunately. But and the Model 4 was just a weird you know, don't know what was its problem. Well, we did find out it had a RAM problem, but and then after we sorted that, it worked perfectly. But
It was
yeah,
a bit
thanks
of a
for
nut.
yeah, that's the one. Thanks for that, Michael. Always good for you to have you join us here. Hopefully you can make it a Tandy assembly one day.
Yeah, I hope so too. But small steps, one show at a time. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Todd, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you. Don't have a lot to share tonight. I had mentioned last time that I was going to build up a couple of TRS-IO boards. I've got 2 of them built. So thanks, Matt, and help from Arno to get those working. What a amazing tool. You guys have probably been used to them for a long time. It sure is a game changer for a lot of stuff. That's about all for the moment. So thanks, guys, for that. And I enjoy watching everybody on this channel. So you guys are amazing. So
Well, we think so too.
And
we always appreciate you taking time to join us here, Todd. And
yeah.
We'll hope to catch up with you soon, eh?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, then. Thanks for that. Matt Boydham. Hey, mate.
Howdy. Can you hear me
Howdy.
okay?
Yeah. What's new in your world?
So I acquired a Model 2 a few years ago with the help of Tim Halloran. it came from a seller on Facebook Marketplace in Pittsburgh. He picked it up for me, and I picked it up from him. And I've been working on a number of projects, which are really leading up to some kind of a TRS-IO for the Model 2. There's a number of possible directions that I can go, and I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm trying to, I like to sneak up on problems. So I like to kind of, work out the details on various bits and pieces. And then once I understand all the pieces, then I can put it together into the whole. So that's kind of what I've been working on. And there's always tangents along the way. So, so it's never a straight line path to kind of get to where I think I'm going. And I have my Model 2 in the background here. I don't know if you can see it or not. But I have a TRS-IO++, which is hanging from the back of the computer, and I have it connected with a bunch of connectors using a breakout board that Ken had provided. So I don't know. Can you see? I don't know what you can see. Can you see my screen or camera?
We can see the back of the computer.
Okay, good. Yeah. So one of the things one of the tangents that I've stumbled across is apparently there is a banked CPM for the Model 12 and Model, I think, 16B for a small subset of the 8-inch Tandies. And it's kind of caught my interest. So I've been investigating that. And it consists of an upgrade that includes I guess, a GAL replacement. And the GAL has been lost. So I'm kind of in pursuit of recreating that GAL. And I think I'm there, but I don't actually have a Model 12 or a 16B to test with. So I'm actually going to borrow a Model 12 tomorrow from a friend and see if I can't get that across the goal line. But in the meantime, I have actually emulated the what's necessary to do the bank CPM using the TRS-IO on the Model 2. So that's not normally supported by the Model 2. There's no fundamental reason it wouldn't work with the Model 2, but it just doesn't really have the hardware that's necessary. So, but by modifying the hardware, of course, you can. So I actually have that booted on my screen, if you can see it. I can go ahead and reboot it. See if you can see that or not, but so if you can see it there, it says, banked CPM. And if I just do the regular boot, see what comes up then. You can see it's a Fred screen up. You can see that or not, but so that's part of the TRS-IO stuff. So I've been exploring, kind of how the Model 2 works, and how the Fred works, and how to maybe do an auto boot. You might notice that when it's booting, the screen is not the usual solid white background, and that's because I modified the character generator in the Model 2 to add the semi-graphics from the Model 4. And the main motivation for that is for really TRS-FIT. I've posted a lot of this stuff to the Model 2 1216 channel in the Discord, but you might have seen TRS-FIT running on the Model 2. And then that also gives me the nice the Fred menu, because it uses the semi-graphics as well. And I can actually boot. I can show that. So I actually have the LS-DOS. See that? But I can actually boot. Oh. Yeah. I think it's going to floppy now. It's actually it's struggling because I have the CPM floppy image put on my GoTech. There we go. So I selected a different image. So TRS-80 will not work from the TRS-IO, but you can at least see that it runs. And there's the that one there. It won't play, of course, but because it won't work with the TRS-IO. But anyway, so I am planning to attend Tandy Assembly, and I do want to display something Model 2 related. It'll probably be along these lines. Hopefully I'll have made some more progress by then. So like I said, I'm really trying to figure out exactly which direction I want to go with the TRS-IO. There's about 3 or 4 different directions. They all have some advantages and some disadvantages. And I guess I'm just trying to kind of sort it out. I'll probably end up going in maybe 2 or 3 different directions. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, Matt, thanks for joining us. And it's always fascinating the work you're doing there. So I'll be keen to have a closer look at it at Tandy Assembly. So
yeah.
be good to see you again there this year. Before I move on to the last couple of people, just a couple things I wanted to mention. Joel Hilliard, with his music, he will have his CD and LP, the vinyl LP of his music, available for purchase at the show, like he did at VCF. So if you well, even if you're not into music, it's still a good way to support what he does. I've listened to the album; sounds great on my vintage hi-fi system. So it really is a nice bit of work. A nice effort that he's put in there. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we were talking earlier about CPM mappers. I should point out that some time ago, it might have been like 8 or 9 years ago, or more, Pascal and I found a mapper 3 for a Model 3, which has been actually reverse engineered and is ready to go, but we never found the specific Omicron CPM boot discs to go with it. So the design has been sort of parked until the discs that make it work materialize out of somewhere. So if anyone actually has them or hears about them or whatever, we'd be keen to know, because that's actually stopping a Model 3 mapper type project being released. And the other thing that with it along the same lines is there is a more deluxe version. It's not by Omicron, I forget who it's by, but it is a combined 64K memory memory mapper for CPM and 80 by 24 video display all in one board to upgrade a Model 3 for CPM. And it would be cool to get that thing turned into a product as well. But they're very rare. They came along very late in the part and weren't for sale for very long, because as soon as the Model 4 came out and the capability to run CPM was increased to something much more easily achievable. So those products, those late ones in 83 and early 84, were not on the market for very long. So just thought I'd let that out there. All right,
that's what Mike Lowen's going to be showing off, is the VID 80.
The VID 80. Yeah.
And we actually uncovered a bunch of blank boards at Computer Reset. So the board's actually available, but nobody had any idea of what was needed for it. And now that there's actually one out there, we can actually duplicate that board.
Yeah, the VID 80. I've got to refresh my memory as to what they all did, because I think there was like different versions. Like if you just wanted an 80 by 24 display on your Model 3, there was just a board which gave you the display, and then there was a more advanced version that did the CPM mapping and added extra memory and things like that. But it sounds like Mike's on the way to helping us sort out what was what and what did what. Okay.
You mentioned Joel Hilliard. publishing TRS-80 generated software. I think that's the first published TRS-80 software since Classical Mosquito.
You mean music?
Music, yeah. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
TRS-80 music, unlike the band TRS-80.
That's right.
Yeah. And his music actually, yeah, it has modern sensibilities to it, because the thing about the previous stuff is it tend to have no traditional instruments, and so without putting too fine a point on it, a little bit grating to listen to. Whereas Joel integrates the Orchestra 80 production with traditional instruments. Actually sounds quite pleasing. So there you go. All right, Tim Halloran. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Let me see if I can share my screen. I got a couple of pictures. Let's see if it works. All right. Can you see a Model 3 and a Model 4? Is that working?
Nope.
Yes or no?
No.
No.
Oh, what did I do wrong? Hang on. Go back to this. Oh. Entire screen. Oh, it's asking me to do it. Okay.
All right.
Hang on. Now we got it. Sorry.
There we go.
I did not give it enough permissions. Okay. So a couple of things. I've been restoring some hardware, cleaning out the closets. I have a bunch of Model 4s mostly, but I put these two together. They're a GoTech boot with a floppy. These are going to be at the donate table at Tandy Assembly. So this is me testing them out before they get put away. So the other thing I've been doing while I was cleaning out the closet, I discovered I actually had a Model 4P. The thing, I don't know why it keeps moving. Let me hit pause. So I started working on that. And the keyboard's really unusual. Probably people have done this thing. So I wanted to caution people, because don't be like me. So what I did was try to pull the keycaps off and popped out. This is not how this keyboard works. You have to unscrew the back, sort of like a Coco keyboard, and then you pop the keys out from the other side, and then you can clean them and fix them up. So I did that. But the boy, I didn't break it, but you can see I started over on the keypad, which is wise as well when you don't really know what you're doing on one of these. So I did get the keyboard repaired. I had a couple bad keys, got it going. Then I took a bunch of pictures of the things. The other interesting thing I found here was this is obviously, if you just look at this, if you know 4Ps, this is a non-gate array 4P. And I did upgrade to 128K, which is easy on these things. So this is where I finally got to. This is what's running basically in the other room. So with the thing taken apart, I ran into an interesting problem. Typically, I throw a new GoTech on these and boot it up, and that didn't work at all. So I was worried, oh, the 4P doesn't work, because I really hadn't done much with it. So you can see over on the left-hand side there, there's a FD500 from the Coco. So I hooked up a real disk drive and everything worked fine. So I went back and was like, wow, that's really odd. So researching this a little bit, apparently the 4P, sorry, not D, 4P is really picky about having these, the 32K GoTechs don't work well with it, or at all in my case. So I was able to dig up off my Model 3. You can see the little GoTech 3D printed box there. That is the older GoTechs, and I'll have to get some more of those, or the newer ones that have more memory, so that it actually works well. But be slightly cautious with the GoTechs on the Model 4P. It doesn't behave horribly well. So anyway, just kind of restoring things a bit. Let me see, how do I get out of this now? Stop sharing. And getting ready. I talked about the CPM talk. So and I also close to having a working Model 4P, which I've never had before. So the other interesting thing I did was retro bright it, which is totally uninteresting for this group, but it's going to be bright white if it goes to Tandy Assembly. It looks great.
That's so cool. It'll look great. Your serial board, I've just finished it, so I'll be in contact with you to to get that sent out to you in time for Tandy assembly?
Yeah, I was actually interesting. I mentioned that at the beginning that I was actually able to use TRS-80 GP to simulate what I was trying to do in the real Model 1, and it actually worked. So I'm excited to get the real one and try it out. But George, the Mappa 1 functionality and the Omicron mapper and the real serial ports actually works and will run CPM on a terminal. It's pretty.
That's great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your talk. Thanks for joining us, Tim.
Oh, can I ask a question real quick? I saw related to that. I have a pair of Coco disk drives. I don't know where they came from, but it looks like you can use them on like Model 134s. I think I sort of read that, but I haven't tried it. It's
all right. Do you want the lowdown on that?
I will let Ian take that one.
Yeah. Yeah. You can definitely use it. You can definitely use it on the Model 1. And you can use them on the Model 3 and 4 as external drives, as long as it's not the earliest gray Coco disk drive. Is the disk drive you've got
beige cabinet?
Yeah, the disk drive's horizontal or vertical?
Oh, horizontal in a beige cabinet. They look like what he had.
Okay. Yeah, you can use that easily. They're not the last word in quality, but they do do the job. What you might find though is the connector on the card edge has a what would you call it? A keyway between pins 3, 4, and 5 and 6, meaning that it's difficult to plug it in. Has that got a keyway or?
No, this is what I got here. I don't see a keyway.
Cool. Just plug it in your Model 4 and off you go. The later drives like the FD 501 and 502 used to have a keyway. And so did the disk controller on the Coco. It just helped people not plug it in upside down.
Cool.
But if you want to use that then on a Model 4, you've either got to change the connector to one without a keyway or remove the controller from the Model 4 and carefully cut a slot between pins 3, 4, and 5, 6. But it will work.
All right, thanks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but I was.
No, that's what you're here. That's what we're here for, for people to learn shit.
All right, thank you. No, I'm going to definitely try that. I was sitting on this wondering what I was going to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. Jay's been using Coco drives on TRS-80s for years, so yeah, no problem. Lucky last, Peter Phillips. You got anything before I asked Dusty what he wanted?
Yeah, it's just that you were talking about CPM. Is it feasible to have that on TRS-80 GP, guys?
Works fine. I've been running it all the time. Just it'll go.
Yeah, it's got Mappa support, Mappa 1 support now, and so Mappa 1 support means that it will run. It'll emulate a Model 1 with the Mappa CPM
80
board.
characters. Yeah. Thank you.
80 characters is a bit of a stretch for the Model 1, but you know, baby steps. We'll get there eventually.
You can run CPM in Model 4 mode on TRS-80 GP.
Okay, awesome. No worries. Peter, you got anything else? Peter Phillips, anything to say? I know you were talking a little before, but
yeah, the only thing I've been really up to is like I was just in the peanut gallery for the green thumb work, just suggesting things here and there. I did notice on the Discord there was some LNW80 that was in pristine condition. I don't know what happened to that. Anybody know about that?
Yeah.
Who here bought the first one? There have been a couple of them for sale, right?
Well, the first one closed at what, 3,200?
Yeah.
And so she listed another one for $5,000, and I don't think it's going to go for that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
That's one piss load of money. It would want to be like, you know, the LNW boss's personal computer at that price.
That's a new in the box, unused, mint condition, all original equipment. LNW80. I mean, we'll never see that again.
With the CPM.
That's true. While that's true, you'll never see it again. I still see a computer that needs a full rebuild of its power supply. Probably every chip resocketed, and a lot of the chips will just, will have just failed just due to age and things like that. To me, there's no such thing as a pristine vintage computer that you can just take out of the box as if it was 1982, put it on the desk and start using. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know.
You'd be asking for trouble just to plug it in and hope it worked.
Yeah. Well, what'll be interesting is to come back in 10 years' time to this podcast and see if $5,000 is the current going rate of new of vintage computers, and that they were just ahead of the pack in asking that much for them. There's a gentleman at VCF had a working Apple Lisa there that he wanted to sell. He said it was for sale, and I asked how much, and he was taking offers. But I mean, in Australia, they are insanely rare and expensive, and especially people are paying $4,000 to $5,000 for them in Australia, non-working in restorable condition. So that's possibly in Australia a $10,000 computer. So it's possible that he was looking in the order of $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 for his Apple Lisa there. And if he got it good, it's just a sign of the times. But yeah, Okay, I still have my LNW of some description at my mum's place in a box. I keep forgetting about it. I suppose the longer I forget about it, the more when I actually decide to flip it, it'll actually go for. So I have never even powered that thing up. I just brought it home and scratched my head and said, okay, what's for dinner?
I've been watching Hey Bert's YouTube videos on the one he's restoring from Bill Bright from last Tandy assembly.
Oh yeah.
So he's got the board out, and he's working on it, and it's going to be a long haul to do it, but he's working on it. He says the keyboard is going to be the real nightmare, because if you've seen what the keyboard looked like, it's all wire wrapped. So, but
wow,
he's working on it. He's got 2 videos out.
Okay. Well, we got a few minutes.
I want to ask one quick question to Jay Crudy. Can you give an update on the keyboards that you're selling?
It's got 25 left.
Yeah, it's about 25 left. I mean, well, put it this way. More keyboards will still be able to be made and sold after that, but I'm not going to do another production run of the plates, and that's really one of the constraining factors. So after that, we would need to get plates made on a per unit basis. There is a company in California that can make them, cut send, but each plate at that point becomes over $100 just for the plate. So they will still be available. They'll just be incredibly pricey after that.
All right.
Okay. Eric, did I get to you before? Have you said everything you need to say?
Yeah, I think I covered it.
Cool. All right. We'll be back in about a month's time, I'd say. Yeah, Peter.
We'll see.
I can't help but look at the bloody dust cover on your Model 16 behind you. If you turn at the right angle at it, it looks like a reefer capacitor has blown up, and the thing's just got a cloud of smoke around it. And then I'd do a double take. Oh, that's right, it's his dust cover. But we
I take care of my business.
Yeah. Yep. I was there when Raymond Jett's apricot computer blew its reefer cap at VCF, and it must have been a big one, because it produced a profuse amount of smoke. It's quite exciting.
Ray does those right.
Raymond Jett's cool. Everything he does is off the charts.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done. And so thanks for everyone for joining. We'll see you in around a month's time for another one of these. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.